Welcome to Touched and Empowered, a show created to empower individuals to value their lives by hosting think tank discussions that will inspire positive action. Touched and Empowered with Katie and Ace starts now.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Touched and Empowered. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much for your consistent listening and following. We really appreciate it. You're keeping us going. It's really encouraging. And another person who's going to keep us going today, thank you very much for joining us, Stephanie Leandre. Did I say that?
Yes.
He is a Florida-born native who is passionate about educating families and individuals about getting your finances in order. Wow. Stephanie's journey to finances started when her father passed away when she was younger. Due to hardships her family experienced, she is now on a mission to ensure families do not go through the same types of hardships. And that's wonderful. Thank you very much for being here with us. And, I want to toss this over to Katie from here because she's going to be an amazing person to discuss how to move forward in these specific types of hardships.
One of the things that I know that we talked about before was how you wanted to get all of this information into the hands of teens.
Yes.
Is that your focus on teens? Is it college students? Is it family on a whole? Where is it that you would ideally want to start?
I would say it's a combination of all the above that you mentioned. But I do want to start with teens because the saying, what is it? If I knew then what I know now, I would do things differently.
Absolutely.
And I really stand behind that because I'm not like super old, but from the years.
We're never super old. We are women of wisdom. We are not old.
I like that. I fine like wine, I guess.
Yes.
I want to be able to speak to them in a way that they will understand. Because if someone had spoken to me back when I was a teenager, I felt like a lot of things I would have done a lot of things differently.
Well, what was it that started all this? I know we touched base on that in your bio, that it was when your father had passed away. If you're comfortable sharing, what exactly was the turning point there that made you realize how important this was for you?
The turning point, I would say, was when I was in college, especially probably around my second, third year of college was when I realized finances wasn't just working and trying to save a buck here, buck there. It was more also about saving. It was also about planning for your future and so on, because I wasn't taught those things from my mother, because you can only teach what you know. And her thing was, my mom was real old school, like, if you needed some change, it will be under the mat in the back of the car. She was the parent that had, money under the mattress or in an envelope in a drawer. It was never,
The cup of coins sitting on the shelf.
Yes. And the cup holder in the car or the little space in the front of the car, you'll find a few coins here and there, and it wasn't until around that time frame was when I realized, because I had started working, I had my first real job, was when I realized that finances is more than just working and paying bills or working and buying stuff. It's a whole different world out there when it comes to money. And I feel like, I want to say between the end of middle school, early high school, that's kind of the starting target ages I would like to speak to. And then, of course, until college students as well. So that
makes sense, because from going in the Wayback Machine, I do remember home ec in middle school. And the only thing that I remember about budgeting or finances or running a household was, this is what a checkbook register looks like, and this is how you fill it out. It wasn't on any other kind of managing of the money. And I agree, our parents can only teach us what they know. And it is up to us as parents to educate ourselves. So then that way we can pass that knowledge on to our kids, because we do want them to have an easier job in life than what we've gone through. I think that's every parent's dream.
Right. For sure.
So what else is it about this financial mission? Because you are a woman on a mission.
I am.
What else is it that, is calling to you? Because it's got to be more than just, I wish I knew then what I know now.
For me personally, it's what I would say is calling me is my desire to help individuals and families understand the concept of money and understand how to make your money work for you versus you working, just solely focus on working for the money. Because we're programmed, go to school, get a degree, get a good job that's good enough to at least sustain some sort of lifestyle. Once you get that job, look for a promotion or whatnot. And all you got to do is pay your bills and you'll be okay. Pay your bills and you'll be okay. It's like the same cycle when the hamster's on the wheel and the hamster is just going to keep running in the same position or the same direction, but it's only that one wheel. I want to help you take your money and divide it into different wheels and different races and different components of your life.
So instead of being part of, I think the term I once heard was a rat race, with constantly going, getting the money, and then having the money leave your hands just as quickly as it comes in. So then you're constantly going.
Exactly.
What ideas do you have that would, one, create the interest and the spark, so then that way teenagers actually absorb the information? Because personal experience, if it's not fascinating to me in the moment, I'm not going to retain the information.
One thing I tell people is to think of the end goal. What is your end goal with that dollar you made, or that $5 or that $10? What are you hoping to achieve? Are you saving it to buy something? Are you saving it to go to an event? For teenagers, let's say someone is interested in STEM and they want to dive more into it, or they want to take courses or something in it. If you are you're working towards that goal. So while you're going through that process, how are you being efficient with your money? So if you do, let's say over the summer, you're cutting lawns, which is what we're used to from our, back
walking the dogs, doing the yard work for the neighbor, that kind of hard labor.
Exactly.
Summer jobs, yes.
When you get that $10 or $20 from cutting the lawn, your question to yourself is, what's next? What do I do next? Let's say the program you want to go into is going to be $150. You need to calculate, if it's $20 a lawn, how many lawns you need to cut in order to get that $150. You also need to consider, are you having to buy supplies? Are you having to pay more than that $150? Is there a separate fee for something, like a registration fee, whatever it may be? You are working to save towards that goal of getting into that STEM program, right?
So it's more than just, this is the dollar amount that I need to achieve. You're actually explaining the purpose of doing the research,
right,
for what it is that you want to achieve.
Exactly.
Because I agree with you. There have been so many times where it's like, oh, I only need X amount of dollars. And then you think you're ready to go. And then all of a sudden, something else comes up, whether it be an unexpected fee, whether it be supplies that are needed, like you were saying, like for a course or something like that. So I hadn't really considered that research part as part of it. Granted, I will admit my budgeting skills are horrible. So I am taking in this lesson right now during this podcast so I can be a little bit better with my own money management, because I do think that it is a constant learning.
It definitely is. That's the thing I love about money is you're always learning. You never know everything, and that's the end of it. It's not the end all be all. You're always learning something different. Stuff I know now in the age that I'm at now, I'm like, man, I wish I knew this 10 years ago or 15 years ago. I probably would have done this differently, or went there or did that, I'm thinking about simplifying things. Now, there's homecoming every year.
Right.
You're a high school student, there's homecoming. You got to think about your dress. You got to think about your homecoming ticket. For us, I'm speaking from the females. The males, you guys are a little bit different. For us, it's a lot more. You know,
Well,
our dress,
I don't
our
know. My son did go all out in doing a custom suit for homecoming and for prom and everything else like that. So I think some of the guys do invest just as much into that as the girls do nowadays, unlike when we were in school. But I agree, there's so many components, there's parts and pieces to it, because sticking with homecoming, you've got the outfit, you've got the cost of the ticket for the event, you have the cost of anything before the event, like the homecoming game.
Yeah.
Or, if you go to have food before the dance, transportation, are you paying your parents to be your taxi? Or, by the way, you should tip your parents for being taxi. Or if you're getting a limo or something else like that, these are all things that to plan ahead for makes it so much easier instead of last minute scramble trying to find out how am I going to pay for it.
Right. Right. So when you learn how to budget in the early years, it becomes easier as an adult. So it's kind of like, that your budget for homecoming is, oh gosh, I'm going to say $500. I don't know how much homecoming is. I never went to homecoming. So let's just say it's $500.
I don't remember, but that sounds like a good even number to start with. So we're just going to stick with even numbers to make the math easy.
Right. So it's $500 for homecoming. You got to think about your dress, us girls, makeup, hair, shoes, anything you can think of. Is that $500 going to be sufficient? Do you need to upgrade the budget a little bit? Do you need to downgrade it a little bit? It also depends on you as a person. What do you like? If you want a tailored dress specifically for you, or if you're like, oh, like me, I'll just go to JCPenney, pick out a dress that looks cute, and that's my homecoming dress.
Do you want to be creative and capable and resourceful to find a way to get exactly what you want without blowing all of the money in your bank account?
Exactly. And speaking on that, just to piggyback off blowing all the money, is let's say you do make X amount of dollars and you have the exact amount you need. Then what after? What
comes after the fact?
Exactly. What's after that? So you've worked for the money, you worked towards your goal, you met the goal, you enjoyed homecoming, you had a great time, everything's great. What happens after homecoming when all that money is gone? So all the money that probably took weeks or months to get to is gone in that one day.
And now you're back down to $0 in the bank account. And the next big thing that's happening the next weekend, and not being able to present. Oh my God, this sounds like my normal month to month pay. Trying to live paycheck. Paycheck is horrible.
Exactly. And that's the point I wanted to make was, if that's how, we're doing it from our teenage years, how is it going to be different in your adult years? Because that's what you're used to. That's what you've been doing. And that's how you feel it's been working for you. But it feels like every time you want to start something new, you have to go back to ground zero. You don't have to always go back to ground zero. If you're very resourceful and you understand how to make the money work for you, rather you working for the money, then it would be easier for you to understand the concept of money and how to not look at it as a task, but look at it more as a journey, if that makes sense.
That does, because there's so many times that I'm just going to use my own personal experience with this because I don't really have anything else to pull on, but I can see where there's been, oh, I'm going to go do this. Oh, wait, I can't participate in this event because I've got a bill that's due 3 days afterwards, and I need to make sure that I have money to pay that bill. So living the whole paycheck to paycheck time frame, not realizing that the budgeting, the managing, the projection, I guess is the best word for it, planning on those upcoming expenses and building a buffer or a savings account or something for those unexpected expenses, because that's always what got me. It was the unexpected expenses that popped up.
Exactly.
And that's not something I don't think I ever planned for as a teenager. Right. I just worked so I had money to go play. I didn't plan on anything else.
Exactly. And that was the same thing for me. I just worked on, when I started working, I was 18. So it was just like, okay, I have money to do my hair, or I have money to go buy some clothes at my favorite store. But then if I need to do something else, I have to wait for the next pay period to come around. And I want teenagers to understand how to be smart and mindful of their money. So one example I would say is, let's say you want to, I always wanted to travel. So let's say, you're in your senior year or right before college, you want to do some traveling before you get back into the books and, study whatever it is you're
Whether it
looking
be
to study.
senior week or whether it be go
Yeah,
abroad for a couple weeks or whatever, you want to do something to
right.
celebrate that you are now an adult.
Exactly. Exactly. And you set a budget, you've reached that budget, you reach that goal, but let's say, like you mentioned, some fee or something sneaks up on you. So what do you do now? Mom and
And
dad doesn't have it. They
yeah,
don't have it.
that was always the go-to, go to mom and dad. But you're
Yeah,
right, because there are times that mom and dad cannot bail you out.
exactly.
There are times that, someone can't just let you borrow the money. Or if you do something like what I was guilty of, just put it on a credit card,
Mm-hmm.
thinking, oh, I'll pay for it later, and then not having the money to pay it later, to where I'm actually paying 3 times more than what I originally spent because of all the fees and the interest and everything.
Exactly. Exactly. So what are you going to do at that point? Let's say your goal was $1,000 and something for $50. Just let's keep it more on the smaller scale. $50 come up, but you don't have the extra 50. Mom and dad doesn't have it, or it's not available at that moment. And this is something that has a timeline where you're in crunch time. What do you do?
Well, I would sacrifice something that the $1,000 was assigned for, whether it be $50 for souvenirs, for example. I'm not going to buy souvenirs on my trip, so then that way I could cover that fee.
Right. So the key with budgeting is, although you have a goal budget or a goal number or a goal of whatever it is that you're trying to do, and something happens where it's unexpected, it wasn't a part of your timeline, it wasn't part of anything, and it happens, what you need to go back into your budget, like you just mentioned, and look at areas that you can either cut off or you can reduce. So
Okay.
once you learn the art of how to make the money work in a way where it doesn't hinder you or it doesn't hold you back, then you'll be able to understand how to make the money work for you and not you work for the money. Because long time ago, I would have been like, oh man, okay, maybe I need to go pick a shift up, or maybe I need
Yeah.
to go do some extra work, or maybe I need to go, if I had like something planned to do next week, I would have to postpone it. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah. I've done the whole, let me just work a couple more hours and
right.
pick up some overtime, so then that way I can cover the cost of it. Until working 80 hours in 1 week is not really feasible.
No, no.
Yeah, and I agree. That's something that I wouldn't want my son to have to struggle with that. I wouldn't want anyone's kids to have to struggle with that in high school. Well, besides the labor laws being out there that it's not possible for a teen to work more than so many hours in a week, anyways.
Right.
Um, but that right there would nip that plan in the butt. If you've already worked your maximum amount of hours that you're allowed based on your work permit, for example, if we're talking middle school, early high school years,
Yeah,
then you couldn't use that as an option.
absolutely not. So when it comes to budgeting, I want people to, well, not people, I want the young adults and the teens to understand, you need to, first thing first, I'm old school. I don't know with all the technology if they have apps for these things, but I have everything down on a piece of paper, which sometimes I use Excel for to track everything, because you can input formulas in Excel and it could just calculate things for you. Always have, if you have something that every month is the same amount every month, keep it that way. But if you have things that are variable amounts, I tend to always say keep it on the higher end, and if the time where it's on the lower end, you have a surplus in between. But always make sure that whatever it is that you are paying for or planning for or whatever it is, have it written down somewhere, because you are more likely to follow through and keep up with something when it's written down versus when it's just in your head.
So hypothetically speaking, let's say we'll get close. My cell phone bill is around $205 for myself, my son, and my husband. So I actually have it written on my calendar, because I use Google Calendar for everything, that my cell phone bill is $210 a month. I've got that $5 buffer, because it's like 205 and some change or something like that. But at least I know that it's on there. It shows up on my calendar every month, so I know that bill is coming up. So then that way, that might not be the ideal way to track it, but at least that's what I started with, because I didn't have any other way to track what my upcoming expenses were in a way that I would see it on a daily basis, because I'm not used to using worksheets or spreadsheets or anything else like that. And if it's written on a piece of paper, it's going to get lost. I just can't keep track of notes.
Okay. I hear you. I hear you completely. But I like how you mentioned you use your Google Calendar. That's another way of tracking your expenses and your income. You can input it in your calendar. You don't have to write it down on a piece of paper or Excel, whichever works best for you. Because some people are creative people. I know people that create color codes for everything and that create specific type of, like if you see this picture, it means that. If you see this, it means that. I don't know if you guys are familiar with like the happy stickers. I have the happy journal and it has the stickers. So if there's like a doctor's appointment coming up, whether it's for me or my children, I put the doctor sticker. It's a doctor with the
okay.
Yeah, to remind me, hey, it's a doctor's appointment that day.
So it's a visual reminder instead of actually writing out the words for it.
Yeah,
that does make sense for someone who is used to visual cues versus written cues.
Like you mentioned your cell phone. If you have a sticker of a phone, you put it down on whatever date it is, put that phone sticker, cell phone due, amount. If it's I'm trying to think of what teenagers might pay for besides cell phones.
Okay. Well, let's see. When I was a teenager, my regular bill, well, we didn't have cell phones oh God, I'm giving my age away. I had car insurance. I did not have a car payment, but I did have car insurance. So that could be a car sticker.
Exactly.
On my calendar. That could have been a car sticker on my calendar. What other bills did I pay on a regular basis?
Hair. So for me,
no, I did nails. I didn't do hair. I did nails, but yeah, something like that. Okay.
So if it's every 2 weeks, you're like, hey, I want to get my nails done, a gel manicure and regular pedicure or gel pedicure. You know that it's going to cost X amount of dollars and you're going to do it every Friday or Saturday, whichever day of the week you choose. But I'm saying because those are the popular days to go to the nail salon, Friday or Saturday. What do you do to give you that reminder? Whether you're a visual learner, whether you're like me, I'm more analytical. I'm like literally, I used to be crazy with sticky notes, but now I've stopped and I've just gotten a planner and I just put everything.
I remember I had Post-it notes all over my desk when I first started working to keep track of stuff. So I completely understand that.
Exactly. And it was like you said, things get lost, misplaced. And now that I have children and they have sticky fingers and they're all over my desk, because it's like, you know what?
Things get moved and then you can't find them.
Yes.
So, but I like the idea of, putting it on the calendar, on your Google Calendar or whichever
Apple
Apple
Calendar,
version
your
is, whatever
iCloud.
Apple Calendar is,
Yeah.
having some kind of a reminder or a notification sent to your phone. There are apps out there in reference to keeping track of budgeting. There's a free one that I just started using called Mint. It's by the same company that does TurboTax. So I'm like, well, I use TurboTax every year, so their budgeting thing must be pretty good. I haven't played with it for more than 3 weeks. But it's a way for me to at least put in reminders that way as well. So I haven't figured out how to budget on it yet. So what would be your first recommendation on how to figure out how to set a budget besides just knowing, okay, I have this bill due every month?
You need to figure out what it is that you pay for or you are a part of on a monthly basis. And when I say a part of, I know in some families, like in my family growing up, like I was responsible for the internet bill, but the internet wasn't in my name, so I was a part of that bill because
Okay, so
my
you
money,
contributed to one of the household bills.
So you need to literally write out every penny that you spend on a monthly consistent basis. And also leave room for miscellaneous items. So on your budget, the way as an adult, I'm speaking as an adult now, and the way we do our budget is we have our essential bills, and then we have everything else, which is secondary to me. Essential bills, mortgage, car, groceries,
electricity,
right? And then everything else are credit cards, student loans. Oh God, student loans. And then miscellaneous. Miscellaneous could be if I decide I want to get my hair done this month. How much is my stylist going to charge? I'm going to make sure I set aside money for that, and the tip money.
That's right. Then tip money for that.
Right. Or if my kid is having an event at school and we have to buy special clothing, or if they're doing something like a community event, we have to buy t-shirts, or I have to buy supplies for the event. So those are for me miscellaneous because they don't happen every month and they're not a part of my monthly bills.
Now I do know that because one of my friends, for example, she has money budgeted to go out to dinner twice a month.
That's a part of
because she has a son and a daughter. So she takes her son one night, she takes her daughter the other night, and that's mommy kid time that she's got scheduled into her monthly calendar to see her kids. So I'm pretty sure that's something that you would count as part of your monthly expense, because that's something that she plans out every month.
Yes. My example was just based on me, but whatever is considered a part of your monthly structure as far as money, you write all that down. Then you have to look at what's your income. If you have variable income, I would say find a happy medium with that variable income. If you don't have like a fixed amount that's coming to you every month. If you do have a fixed amount, you know exactly if it's weekly, bi-weekly, or once a month, however your pay is structured. Whether it is you have a job or like a babysitting gig, or if you're a tutor, whatever it is, because I know I did a lot of those things when I was a teenager, and that's where the variable amount comes in. So then you would say, okay, this month I'm projected to make X amount of dollars. I sound like a math teacher. I'm projected to make X amount of dollars. Or this month, I know if I work 10 hours a week, as 40 hours a month, I get paid $15. I'm going to make $600 before taxes. So okay, taxes will be whatever amount it would be. And then after taxes, this is what I'm going to bring home. Is what I'm bringing home equal or greater than what I'm spending monthly? If what you spend monthly exceeds what you bring home or what you're projected to bring home, that's where the issues start. That's where you start in the paycheck to paycheck cycle when you become an adult.
Yeah, and that's something that I know I had not considered, because taxes were just something that came out of my paycheck that I just never saw. So it's like, okay, I don't even consider that when I was trying to figure out how much money I had to spend each week or every 2 weeks when I got my paycheck as a teenager. But yeah, it's not something that you really think about
Mm-mm.
on, for any, at least for me growing up. It was like, oh, okay, I make, oh my God, what was I making? I think I was making like $10 an hour. Oh, I'm actually only getting the equivalent of like $8 an hour because of taxes. Taxes suck. And, just moved on with my life because there wasn't anything I could do about it. But realizing that that is something that we have to take into consideration when we're doing our budgeting and everything, because we do have to file taxes every year.
Yes, we do. I started filing taxes at 19
I
because
started at 14 and hated it. And still, it is not my favorite thing to do, except for when it's like, ooh, now the government owes me money.
exactly.
So I think, because a lot of us, at least for me as an adult, having the mindset to be grateful that I have the money to actually pay my bills is something that I found has helped me get through the months where I've had more month than money.
Right. I agree 1,000%. And another thing I can say, once you get a handle of your finances and don't let it handle you, once you get a handle on it, you are able to decrease so much stress, which we all know a lot of stress leads to depression. It leads to a lot of other mental issues. So not saying finances is the only thing that leads to stress. Other things do it as well, but it will decrease the stress and then the burden and the load that you feel. Because when I'm at a point where something happens and, like, for example, I'm going to give a true example. Earlier this year, my husband was driving in the middle of the morning and he was on his way back home and he hit a bison. In our area, we have bisons.
Bison?
Yes.
Okay, I was expecting like maybe a deer, a bison. Oh my God, that must have like done so much damage to the vehicle because those things weigh like a ton.
Let me tell you, if I had the picture on my computer, I would share my screen and show you guys. It's 2:45 in the morning. I am asleep. My kids are asleep. And I get a tap on my shoulder and it's like, honey, something happened. And immediately I jump up. I'm like, what's going on? Like, are you okay? Like, where are you hurt? Like, what's going on? And I'm like, why did you leave the house? So he was like, I need you to come outside. And I went outside and, mind you, I'm still half asleep, you guys. And I go outside. I'm like, oh my God.
I can't even imagine what it would look like.
Stunned. And I said, what did you hit? Because did you hit a car? Like, is the other person okay? Did you guys file a police report? And he's like, no, I didn't hit anybody. I hit an animal. First, he said it was a cow. And I said, did you kill that cow? And no, he was like, it just kept walking like nothing ever happened. And then he kept saying it was super hairy. And I'm like, cows are not hairy, really. So I said, no, you didn't hit a cow. And I know it wasn't a deer because you probably would have scrunched that little thing the way the damage was. It turned out to be a bison.
Oh my goodness.
And the bisons are huge. If you guys don't know what the bison look like Google an image, you'll see it. They're huge.
Yeah, they are. That I wasn't kidding when I was saying I don't know if they actually weigh a ton or not, but they are massive and they are solid.
Yep. So when we called the insurance company and we told them what happened, they came out, of course, look at the car and they're like, well, your deductible is $500 and we're not going to total loss it because it's not total loss, but if you want to get it fixed, you got to pay your deductible and we'll cover the rest.
Yep.
Oh my goodness, you guys. Budget.
Yeah, that's when you do need to, that's when I think the advanced planning of your budget and putting money, I know we haven't touched base on like putting money into savings every month or every paycheck or anything else like that, but part of that planning process is to have that, we used to call it a rainy day fund.
Yes.
But then it was always raining and there was never any money in the fund. But no, trust me, I worked for an auto insurance company for like 14 years. So the story about deductibles are, I've heard legends
Mhm.
about them. And I understand how devastating it can be for somebody who is living paycheck to paycheck or
Yes.
not expecting to have that kind of big. I'm glad he's okay. I'm going to be laughing about bison for like the rest of the day now, because that's like hearing someone hitting a moose. It's not something that you're used to hearing. Deer, I'm used to because I'm in Maryland. We have deer everywhere. So any other animal is just, I find it very humorous to me. But I'm glad he's okay. But yeah, so besides doing the budgeting, because I know we're going to have to wrap this up soon, one person I had spoken with before was trying to convince me to follow their budgeting program,
Mhm.
which I did not buy into it because it had a slimy sensation to it. Like I had to pay to be a part of it and just wasn't interested. But one of the things that they had said caught me as a surprise, and I wanted to ask you about this. They had recommended that besides putting the money aside for mandatory bills, the money aside for regular savings, for the rainy day fund, they actually recommended putting aside, I think they said like 10% into what you call a play bucket, where this is money that you have to spend on fun stuff so you don't stress out every month.
I agree 1,000% on that.
Really? I thought they were just blowing smoke.
No, you know why I agree with that? I just say that's my bucket list budget. The reason why I agree with that is because, and this is for everybody, all ages, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
When you work so hard towards something, blood, sweat, tears, everything, and you've accomplished what you work hard for, you've gotten it, which is rewarding too in a way, but wouldn't you want something on the side to have some play money to do something with? Like I live in Central Florida, Disney World. That's the first thing you think about when you think about Central Florida.
And the thought of bison in Florida is just hysterical. It's just hysterical to me. But okay, side note.
You think of Disney World or you think of Busch Gardens.
Right. You think of amusement parks.
Yeah, you just think of fun areas or places you would like to visit. I'm out of that phase, but once, let's say I'm working to realize something, and I realized it was great, I enjoyed it or whatnot, but you know what, you're not going to want to go back and start a new cycle of working hard again. You kind of want to take a break and have some fun. Yes, you should put some money aside for fun in a fun bucket.
Okay.
I agree 1,000% with that.
So having a little bit of money off to the side.
Yes.
Where if, say for us grown-ups, we decide we don't want to make dinner tonight because we've had a very long, stressful day, we've got the money already sitting in this fun bucket to pay for fast food if that's what we want to do.
Yeah.
Or we could save it for get up early one morning and go have waffles with the kids or something like that. So it doesn't have to be, for some reason I'm stuck on food at the moment, but it could be any, so pretty much it could be anything, but that money is set aside specifically for doing spontaneous things.
Yes. And having a little spontaneity in your life is needed. You can't just do the same mundane thing, or mundane for some, or the same cycle, the same thing over and over and over again, and not have some type of extraness. I don't know if that's a word they use now.
Hey,
but
you know what? Extraness sounds good because you need to have something that makes you smile, something that brings you joy, something that you are grateful for, something to help raise the positivity level in your own personal world. Because I agree, working for a paycheck is just that walking on a hamster wheel. It's just constant going and going. It's the Energizer Bunny. You just keep going and nothing happens.
Right.
So I agree. I thought they were just blowing smoke, but apparently no, I'm taking it from you, the expert, that we need to put aside a little bit of fun money every single month.
Yes.
So I am going to find a way to start doing that. My son's
start doing that. And it doesn't have to be a huge amount. It can be something small, like, okay, every month I'll put aside $50, or if you could do more, great. If you can't, that's fine, but put aside what you can and then grow from there.
Yeah, because that little bit, when it sits there and you're not touching it, you're not touching it, not touching it, soon you're going to have a little chunk of money there
Yeah.
to be able to do something that, instead of it being, oh, let me just run out for fast food, oh, let me run to the steakhouse
Yeah.
and, treat yourself to something really nice. So I do like that
Exactly.
idea. So I'm glad that that is something that they actually gave me something worthwhile in that other conversation that I thought that was just kind of like, on it. So before we wrap up, what is your one golden nugget, your one tidbit that you want everyone to know that they can start implementing right now?
My golden nugget or tip that I would want to share with everyone is that I want you to understand that you create your vision, you create your destiny, you create your future. You are a part of all of that. Don't feel like you have to do things the Dave Ramsey way or the Susie Orman way or all of these other financial gurus that are out there putting a lot of valuable information. You can take a little bit from each person and apply it to how your lifestyle is, because each of us are individual, each of us are different, each of us do things differently, and then we play, culture plays into that as well. So do not feel tied down to one type of way. You can use various different aspects of other ways to incorporate into your financial future, into your financial planning, into your financial house, in order to do what's best for you, because that would reduce a lot of stress. It would reduce a lot of the weight. It will also make you still have that sense of fulfillment because you did it your way.
I love that. So there really is no wrong way to do this as long as you
No.
get started.
Yes. And get started early. So for my younger people that do not have the bills that we adults have, be thankful for that, because when it comes, it's a whole different beast. So start early. Even if it's if it's $50 a month, $100 a month, start early with understanding how to spend your money, how to budget your money, and how to save your money.
And on that note, thank you everyone for listening in on this episode of Touched and Empower. I will make sure that all of Stephanie's contact information is in the show notes. So then that way you can reach out to her and get even more fantastic financial advice. Stephanie, thank you so much for being a part of this show and sharing this wisdom and letting me absorb. Because I truly believe that we continue to learn and we continue to grow. And the day that we stop learning is the day that we start decaying.
Thank you
So
for
I
having me.
greatly appreciate all of this information. And thank you again.
Thank you.
So, thanks everyone. Bye.
Thank you for joining us. We hope that the discussion today will inspire you to take positive action in your life. Until next week, be empowered.